You're not ready.
Are we live?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. I don't normally say it. Andy says it, but
no.
Yeah, no. He will be remiss if I don't say, "Are we live, Zach? Are we live?" Shall I check?
You can check.
I'll check online now just to make sure we are.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Who has already? This is. I'm not going to show the camera, but I just went onto Facebook to see what's live. Look what's been recommended to me.
Bloody hell.
A one-piece urinary incontinence clamp. Anyway,
What have you been?
Nothing. It's from Temu or whatever that is. I don't know.
Wow.
I think we are live.
Should we get the live comments?
Yeah, that's where we need to go. Yeah. Here we go. So yeah, welcome to today's Tuesday tune-in, everybody. Do you know, I'm not 100% sure live because I haven't seen it yet.
I can look.
Yeah. Here we are. Simon Harwood's in. Okay, thank you. He's put my mind to rest because
we're fine.
We have had some technical issues in the past.
Never.
But yeah, welcome to the Tuesday tune-in, everyone. As you can see, that we've improved on Andy again. 2 weeks in a row now.
It's just the way it's got to be now.
Yeah, exactly. Andy is off having some much overdue R&R.
Yeah,
I think is what they say.
On his hollybobs.
Yeah, he's on his hollybobs. But don't worry, because you've got me and Zach today, and we're going to be talking about something really uplifting, which is about what to do when it all goes pear-shaped, all goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the title of today's one, Zach? And what's it about?
Bouncing Back, I believe, is the
Bouncing Back
title. I think I wrote that. Yeah, Bouncing Back.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can. There's lots to talk about. I think it's an important subject. You know. Sort of
yeah.
Learning from mistakes, failure. You know, there's lots of important things that we can talk about.
100%. I think you're right. I think is the term bounce back ability.
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely an important trait to have when you're sort of doing any type of adventure travel, because things don't always go to plan.
No, definitely not.
You know, both you and I have had experiences on treks that certainly have left us a little worse for wear.
This is true.
And questioning the decisions that we made on, you know, during that time. But yeah. I do think it's important to cover perhaps a couple of the situations that we found ourselves in that didn't go to plan.
Yeah.
How we turned that around and what things we did, you know, to kind of get by.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian's got a good point. When it all goes Pete Tong, hydrate. Yeah, I think that's because he got trapped in Kathmandu for 2 weeks. Yeah, he was devastated.
That's
absolutely devastated. Yeah, I think he and then that was the first time actually we used the hotel aloft.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because they were in a different hotel,
yeah.
which although is good enough for a couple of nights either end of the trip,
right,
perhaps wasn't where you'd want to spend 2 weeks of your life.
That's a long time.
Yeah, so yeah, those guys stuck there. But Zach, yeah, so what do you think if I was to say, like, what trek comes to your mind when you think about sort of didn't go quite well, had to dig deep, had to find some solutions?
Oh, for me personally, well, I think, to be honest, Kilimanjaro, even though things didn't go wrong per se, but it was this close to like failure for me. There was like multiple points. I've talked before with Jody about this, like multiple points on the Kilimanjaro trek when I did it, because I was unwell.
Yeah.
And it was like sort of taking it day by day, but I was this close to quitting. And kind of the key was like learning sort of that mental resilience and talking to Yessi, our guide, and just letting him know how I was feeling.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you know, I didn't have to turn back, but it was this close to being a bit of a failure for me.
It's interesting. You see that quite a lot on Kili, I think.
It's a bloody tough one.
I think it's because it feels quite intense as well.
Yeah.
Particularly summit night.
Yeah.
I think that when you start off on Kilimanjaro, it's a very steep acclimatization sort of trek, isn't it? You know, it's not like Everest Base Camp, which also, you know, is a tough acclimatizing job, but it's not quite as severe as Kilimanjaro. That's partly because, you know, when you're traveling from A to B, like Everest Base Camp, you're not climbing a mountain. So there's only so much you can do if you're only going uphill every day to limit your exposure to altitude. And I think, you start off the first couple of days and it's not too bad, and then I think it's quite quickly that you start to feel like a bit ropey, a bit hard. You know, it's like, oh, this is harder than it was yesterday, and you start to notice those little things.
Yeah, 100%.
I think what biggest thing for me, I think, is it all. Usually, I think back and I think, if all I was dealing with was the physical side, it's not that difficult.
No,
I think that perhaps me and you are similar in a way, that sometimes you get that mental battle going on as well.
Yeah.
And it's sort of getting a hold of that I think is the toughest challenge. You know, when I remember doing loads of different things in my life, and I think it's like almost like a coping mechanism to think that, like, I'd feel trapped unless I knew I could quit at any time.
Right.
It's quite, even though I don't think I'll ever really leave the mountain unless I had to, it's kind of comforting to know that I could.
Yeah, you got that option. Yeah. I mean, I guess for you, because there was tube cal for you, that was kind of a big deal in terms of sort of, turning back and you having illness and problems like that. What was that like for you?
I think, tube cal was the first time I ever did tube cal. It's not, it's a tough mountain, tube cal. It's underestimated, I think.
Oh yeah, 100% it's underestimated.
And I've spoken to it, and I underestimated it.
Yeah.
Having done Everest Base Camp, been to Kalapatar and summited Kili, I think I looked at tube cal like a lesser challenge.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself that even if I'm not firing on all cylinders, I could probably get to the summit. I've done Kili. But actually, a lot of people who have summited Kilimanjaro struggle on tube cal. And I think it's down to that. I think it's the intensity again.
It's a short time that you're doing it.
It's very steep. It's very tough terrain no matter what time of year you do it in. It's either sort of ice and, the route is not as straightforward, or it's dry but it's rocky and slippery. And I think that you leave in a night in the dark, so it kind of feels a bit like Kili, and I think it's very intense, and I do think that's why people underestimate it. But me, it was all about, I did this thing where I just thought, well, it's only 4,000 odd meters, and I've played snooker at Dingboche at 4,400, so how hard can it be? But actually, the terrain in Morocco and in the Atlas Mountains is really tough. And the biggest thing for me was the weather. It was so hot. And we did technically a winter climb. Because we had crampons and stuff like that.
Plenty of snow,
the hike up, my God, it was one of the hardest things I think I've ever done.
It was a tough one.
I think for me, it was, and I underestimated the heat on the trek up, and I didn't sort of make some of the right decisions beforehand in terms of like hydration. I wasn't very well, and I was on antibiotics, but actually I could have probably I probably could have not taken the antibiotics for a week. It was for like, it wasn't something that I think I needed right away. It was like a chronic condition, and if I knew I had to just wait 2 days till I got to the top of tube cal, I probably could have done that. So I do think smarter decisions would have made a big difference.
And what was it like? Because you had to turn back. What was that like? Because obviously the rest of us in the group, we kept going. You went back to the refuge. What was that like, sort of mentally having to do that, and your thoughts, sort of,
That was hard. That was probably the hardest bit.
Yeah, that is tough.
But as soon as I'd made the decision and I started turning back, to be honest, I was, I had like FOMO, I guess, I felt like I was missing out. But the hardest part for me was coming to terms with the decision to turn around. Once I'd made the decision, I was all right with it because I knew it was the right thing to do. And, the mountain's not going anywhere.
No.
But what happened was, I think what happened to me, for those that don't know, was that I had like a sinus infection, but it wasn't horrendous. But I did get antibiotics before I went to tube cal, and I started taking them. There was a week course, so the tube cal was right in the middle. And I started feeling on day one like I didn't have the energy that I normally did. And I remember just getting to the very beginning of the trek. For those of you that have done tube cal, those of you that haven't, there's like a gravel area where they actually play football
Oh yeah.
And that's right at the entrance to the national park.
Yeah.
Just getting there, and I remember thinking like, wow, this is really, really hard. And then we started zigzagging up, and I was redlining my energy, having to stop and really catch my breath, almost like I was running. But I remember thinking like, oh wow, this is just on an off day. But then it got worse and worse and worse, and I wasn't conscious of how much I was sweating and how much fluid I was losing and how hot I was.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think what happened was that the antibiotics led me to be a little bit low on energy, which meant I overexerted myself, which meant ultimately I got heat exhaustion, which is that's the reason why I turned back.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't very well in the refuge. And I remember sitting there just not able to eat breakfast.
It's a good photo of that somewhere.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Just like sat at the table with a head torch on, just like,
I think we're both in that pitch.
Yeah, I think it's me and you. Yeah. But I don't know why. It just it's very difficult sometimes to know how much energy you need at the start of a hike to get to the top.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, like, can I do it? Can I not do it? So I thought I'm not gonna not try. But then I think it's hard to say how high I got halfway, but it's fair to say I think the second half is the hardest.
Oh yeah.
And I remember I was at a point where we have to cross this rock fall, and I remember Ibrahim, our guide, saying, "Oh, we really need to pick up the pace now." And I remember thinking that's not possible.
No,
like I can't do it. It's not a question of whether I can try. I just physically already was feeling like my heart rate was like 160, and I remember getting to that point and just thinking, "Do you know what? This is silly now. This is I'm going to get to a point where I'm gonna have to stop, but I'm going to be much higher. It's going to be much harder to get back down."
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that.
Yeah, so I made the decision then just to kind of turn back and
call it.
But it was the lead up to that point and the turmoil in the mind.
Yeah, that was tough
to make in that instant where it was difficult. But as soon as I said the words, like I want to go down.
Yeah,
I felt better about myself.
Yeah,
and going downhill, then I was immediately like, oh, thank God, like, because
you made the right choice.
It was good. But but what you don't have in that moment, I think, which is what hopefully we can give people the benefit of, is some perspective, because at that time you feel like that's over, that's my chance of getting to the summit done. But it's really not. If you manage to get there once, you can manage to get there a second time. And then me and you actually went back, so that happened in April.
The first time was April,
and we went back in December.
December,
December, and got to the summit again.
Yeah,
in much harder conditions that time.
Yeah, it was pretty rugged.
Yeah, like we basically attempted. Well, we didn't attempt. We summited, but a storm was just coming in.
Imagine if we couldn't, because of weather.
Yeah, I'd have been furious.
What would you have done?
I don't know. I don't think
you would be able to handle that.
No, because I put a lot of pressure on myself that second time.
Yeah, you were like, we're doing it.
Yeah, I was like, I don't care how cold this gets or how windy it is, and it was about as windy and as cold as I think it is possible to summit Toubkal.
Yeah.
I think anything more than that, and the decision would have probably had to have been made to go back.
Yeah,
because certainly the next day nobody summited.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But the point is that I went there, things didn't go well, and there's all sorts of different reasons as to why things don't go well, but really the reasons are kind of immaterial, whether it's altitude, heat exhaustion like myself, whether you picked up a sickness bug, whether you sprained an ankle, they're all, that doesn't really matter. What matters is how you react in the time, and also keeping the mindset in a place that this isn't the end. Yeah. Many mountaineers, climbers, they do multiple attempts of peaks before they actually achieve what they set out to.
Yeah, 100%. Failure is not final.
Yeah,
I like to say.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's not. And what's that other one? We either win or we learn.
Yeah.
And on that first summit at Toubkal, I definitely didn't win anything, but I did learn a lot, and it's made a massive difference. I've taken lessons that I learned. All the mountains that I've climbed and all the treks that I've done, but I probably learned more on that one, and it was a failure, than I have on any other one.
Yeah.
In terms of how to manage myself, in terms of knowing my limits and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I'm actually
valuable
really
stuff.
grateful for the experience of having turned back on it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So what was it? I remember because you've done what, 3 times now? Twice?
Twice. Not 3 times.
Twice.
No.
Yeah. Is it? But your experience from Tupacal 1 and 2 are very different, aren't they?
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
you didn't feel entirely satisfied or happy after Tupacal 1.
No, I mean, the thing was with me on the first time I did Tupacal, I was very inexperienced. It was my first time at altitude. And at that point in time, I was in a very sort of, shall we say, fragile mental state.
Yeah.
Just generally in my life at the time. And so, yeah, there was various things that had happened before that point that Tupacal kind of, because it was such a struggle for me, because of various things. Yeah, that was really tough. Not so much like the physical aspect of it, but yeah, it was definitely mostly mental for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a bit of a shock to the system, to be honest. And I think the one important thing that I learned from the first time, and then bringing that over to the second time I went, was learning. I became a lot more resilient. And I decided to put a lot of effort into learning sort of, I guess, coping sort of mechanisms, sort of from a mental point of view.
Yeah.
Just kind of like mental exercises that just really helped me kind of focus on the task at hand. And
Yeah.
That definitely helped.
I think there was a lot of pressure on you at the beginning as well. And this is another thing that I think people can apply to themselves or have it applied to them.
Yeah.
Because we were filming.
Yeah, there was that as well. Yeah,
And
I was kind of the subject of a
yeah.
of a film.
So, I mean, even if it's subconscious in the back of your mind, you think, that, it puts pressure on you to get to the summit.
Yeah.
And that weighs heavy on the mind. And I could appreciate that for my second time, which I put on myself because I didn't want to, there's all sorts of things that go through your mind. You think, like given my job and what I do here every Tuesday and then not summiting twice, what does that mean? But, these are all, it doesn't matter. But yeah, you are right. I think a lot of the coping mechanisms that people need to summit mountains are perhaps mental.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot you can do. I mean, it'll be different for everyone, but like I did like journaling, which seemed to help because I'm quite a sort of internalized person. So if you're like me, I think writing helps to get that, those worries and concerns like, oh, what might happen? Get all those sort of things out of the mind. So it's a bit of a kind of release of that stuff. So that seemed to help.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's good. I think my method is kind of different. You see, I don't think I've got the patience to sit and write too much.
It's a lot of effort.
Yeah, like you have to sit there and force. But I think what I like to do is distraction.
Yeah.
Like I think I am I overthink things all the time.
Yeah.
Because there are photos of me sort of in my sleeping bag at night on that first Tupacal trip.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I look at them and I look at a man who's like worried, but I know exactly what I was thinking at the time. It was constant like a swirling of thoughts. I think what helps me is distraction. I need a break from that thought process in order to kind of come back to it with, a fresh feeling.
Right.
So for me, it's like podcasts, music.
No good. Yeah.
Audio books that aren't about what I'm doing currently. So I've been trekking and listen to true crime audio books and stuff like that. Yeah. I like anything that kind of just gives you a distraction if you need it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, if everything's going well and you're in a tent on a mountain and I'm reading a book about mountaineering, that's great.
Yeah.
But actually, if I'm having an internal battle about, oh God, I don't know if I can do this, and sometimes reading about other people's struggles will help. But for me, what helps is a complete distraction from it, just short term.
It's complete sort of separate.
Yeah, so I can have a break from the anxiety and then go back to it, then feeling a bit fresh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
One of the things I did want to touch on as well that kind of helped me feel confident when I'm on treks and stuff like that, and I do think there is a big link between sort of the physical and the mental, and I do think the more training you do and the more physically fit you are, the better prepared you feel to take on a challenge, and I think that one of the differences between the the first 2 Tupacals was I got out and I did some trekking and I did some training and things like that. Did you notice any difference like that? Like, have you, because you've done treks where you've trained and haven't trained?
Yeah, I mean, because for the second time I did Tupac, I trained really hard, I think, physically, and for Kilimanjaro, but I wasn't in a very fit state. I was quite ill when we started Kili, so it's kind of annoying because like I put a lot of effort in and I just felt weak for the whole thing, so I can't really talk about that, but for I trained really hard physically for Tupac, and it does just make you feel a lot stronger, both physically and mentally. 100%.
I think as well though, if you take your base fitness level higher, when you do catch a bug or you are low on energy, you've got a little bit more in the tank to be able to do it. So I do believe that all the training you did beforehand got you to the top, because you got ill and you weren't very well. But if you got ill and you weren't very well and you hadn't done any training,
that's true,
you could have been wiped out. But because your base fitness is a lot higher,
I was a lot more fit. No, you could be right there.
The same thing happened to my old man first time he did EBC.
Oh yeah,
I didn't really do any training for it, I think, and then got to Low Boucher and then turned around and went back. So didn't make Everest Base Camp. That was in 2017. And then I think October 2019 went back and managed to actually get to base camp. And I think the difference was, one, Diamox. Giving yourself a little boost to deal with the altitude, and also training. I think makes a huge difference. Just having a look at these comments. I can see Richie, all Richie boys on the line as well. Now I know Richard has gone through this as well on Kilimanjaro, so I'd be interested to know, Richard, your experience or anyone else's experience of like sort of challenges, how you've managed to overcome them and stuff like that. I'd be very interested to kind of know what happened and how you guys did it, because it's one of the things we I think we always get a bit introspective at this time of year because it's the end of the Nepal season,
right?
So all of our Nepal trips have departed now, and you kind of look back over it, the trials and tribulations, and all of the people that made it, and the few that don't, and you kind of sort of introspect about why that is, and you look at the improvements and your own experience, and it is kind of fascinating. So having a quick look, so I'd be interested to know what, because I think Richard was on Kilimanjaro, and I think it was the altitude, Richard, if I'm right. But feel free to fire away. So go on.
No, I was just going to say, because we talked about sort of a lot about sort of failure and learning from that. But what about sort of mistakes, I guess?
Oh yeah.
Because I guess it could be like small things that happen, like forgetting certain things or little bits of kit. That type of stuff. Is there kind of something that you think of when you think mistakes?
Loads. So I it is annoying when things like that happen, but when I trekked Kilimanjaro, I didn't bring waterproof trousers or a poncho or anything waterproof. No, I had a Gore-Tex jacket, but I didn't bring anything waterproof with me. So it does rain on Kilimanjaro
it does.
So that was irritating. It just meant that I had, I had to like borrow trousers off my guide, Yessi. Now, if you put me and Yessi next to each other, now you wouldn't say that our trousers were interchangeable. And that's because they're not.
No.
So I had to wear his trousers, his waterproof trousers. That meant that my strides were about a third of what they normally are. And you couldn't bend down to pick something up without risking catastrophic failure of the garment. So that's horrendous. So but that's little things like I think complacency. I just I'll be all right.
That can happen.
Tupakal, the second time when we summited, I know it's turned into a bit of a Tupakal special, but actually learned a lot on those peaks. Was checking my kit bag before you leave to make sure that you've got everything and doing a full itinerary. Because I remember we started off and it was cold, but not terrible. And then when you go up Tupakal, you kind of do this zigzagging, and then you've got to go up this big face, and the wind hit us. And I remember going into my bag to look for my Gore-Tex jacket, which would have been a good wind stopper at that stage. It's like, No, like couldn't believe that I didn't have it. I actually, it's gone.
Just disappeared.
I don't know where it's gone. I think because it's a black jacket and the room was really full, I think perhaps it got packed by someone else accidentally.
Yeah.
But I would have known that before I'd set off.
You did a bit of a
Yeah, you know, and generally what you should do before you set off on any peak like that is go through the bag, crampons check, head torch check, wind stopper, spare base layer, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was infuriating me. Yeah,
I think a big one for me. Well, it was a small one. It's a small item that I forgot, and it affected me like weeks after. Was lip balm.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah. On tube car the first time, it was so hot. I didn't think of anything of it.
Yeah.
Didn't bring any like lip balm, and I just had like the worst blistered lips.
Yeah.
Like after that, so. Always remember lip balm.
No salt and vinegar crisp for you for like a month.
And I love salt and vinegar
crisp. Yeah. Yeah, we got Richard here. He said the altitude and a bug hit you hard, which threw me mentally. Just to make it to the next camp, I used positive self-talk and had to distract the negatives. Having the guide and a few of the porters cheering me on helped. Being at the camp and then back at the hotel, it was hard not to feel rubbish, especially hearing the cheers of those who were celebrating their summits. Distracting through audiobooks helped, but it was tough. Yeah, so sounds like me and Richard are kind of similar in our sort of mindsets. But yeah, it is tough. And yeah, I remember, when I was back at the refuge on Toopkal and I was in bed. It was really when I got to bed that I didn't have any FOMO or anything because I couldn't stop, like almost like violently shaking.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, yeah, this isn't normal. This is something weird. And I'd never had heat exhaustion before, so I didn't know really what the symptoms were. But yeah, I remember it all going outside and then seeing all you guys like coming down the mountain. And it was kind of weird. It was like, in all honesty, I was like, there was two sides of me. The majority of me actually was like, I really hope they all made it and they all had a good time. But I'd be okay if at least one of them didn't. so I wasn't the only one. But that's just sort of selfish, But then, but of course, you all made it, and I was super stoked to see you all come down in one piece and stuff. And but honestly, like in retrospect, it's not important. What's important is that you don't give up once these things happen, and you just kind of you keep a focus on what you wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
And you remember why you decided to take it on. Because one thing that I think is always sad, if someone has the enthusiasm to take on a challenge and they really want to do it and they have that drive, and then something perhaps doesn't go well, and then I've tried it and it's not for me.
That's it. Yeah.
And I think it is for you. If you had that drive and there was something in you that gave you that buzz of going out there and pitching yourself against something that's difficult, and failure and the challenge a part of it.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, it's about taking on something that you may not be able to do.
Yeah, 100%.
That's part of why it's an adventure, I think. And that can be like for anything, like running or anything like that. Why would you run 26 miles if you knew you could go out and do it?
Yeah.
It's when people train for their first marathon, they go out there and it's seeing if they can do it. And the reason they're so excited when they cross the finish line is because I trained hard and I worked hard and I wasn't sure I could, and then I did.
Yeah.
I think that the possibility of failure is what makes it exciting.
Yeah. And I think like, if there is failure along the way, just think how much like more amazing it'll be, the feeling of, actually completing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I see Chris Ward. Good morning from Peru. Good morning, Chris. How's it going, mate?
Nice.
Whereabouts are you? Tell us everything you're doing. And Tina, excellent trek up the Langtang Valley. Thanks. Langtang, I'm so pleased that that's going well.
Yeah.
Because it was it's sort of a little known gem, Langtang, really.
Yeah.
So Tina, it'd be great, like share your experiences on what you thought of Langtang and what it was like compared to other regions of Nepal, because I think it's sort of I need to get out there, and I'm actually going to Nepal next week.
You're going off, are you? Yeah.
Next week, yeah, only for a week though. I'm going to go up, see the lodges, see the team,
do the rounds,
do the rounds over there and stuff like that. But it'd be great if I managed to like get over to Langtang. But with only sort of 6 or 7 days.
Yeah.
And I want to go to Namche as well.
Do everything you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I know for a fact that I'm gonna go via Ramachap to Lukla.
Yeah.
And then I think I might catch the whirlybird up to Namche. I might jump in the back with some supplies up to Namche.
Yeah.
See everyone there for a little bit, and then
Nice.
and then come back down. I think.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Talking of Ramachap, actually, that's another thing that can be a little bit of a challenge right before it. And
yes,
you know, it's because you've not done Ramachap yet, have you?
No,
that's got to be next on your list to get out.
I know. I need to, yeah, I know that will be next. That will be next, I reckon.
Because I think you would love it.
Yeah.
I think you and Nepal would go together quite well.
There's some amazing treks that.
Yeah. Which one do you reckon you do?
I think one of the, I mean, obviously EBC is like the one to do, but I think one of the lesser known ones, like Langtang or something like that.
Yeah.
I'd definitely like to see what those are like. I think.
Yeah.
You know, the more remote ones.
I think you would like it. Yeah. I think sort of Langtang, maybe the Mustang region, very strong Buddhist sort of in the Mustang region.
Yeah.
Quite tricky to get to actually in terms of like it's I'm not talking about like physically. I mean, it's sort of regimented, sort of how many trekkers can go there.
Right. Yeah.
Andrew Brooks, greetings from Namche Bazaar. This is awesome. Recommend it to everyone. The guides and porters are true heroes. Awesome, hey. Andrew. Who's your guide, by the way? I'd love to know who it is.
Nice.
Namche, so jealous. In fact, though, are you? You have to remind me now which section of the trip you're on. But I think you left on the 11th, right? So you would be on your way up, because I'm going to be in Namche in a week from now, and I'm trying to wonder whether I'm going to be able to meet up with any other trekkers.
Yeah. Let them know you're there.
Yeah, so that'd be interesting to find out.
Nice.
Andy's got a good point there as well. That's why he's heading back to Killy. We didn't make it 7 years ago. If you could just keep the weather at bay.
Wow.
And then it popped up. Whether that would be great. I'll do my best, mate. I'll do my best. I think you'll be fine, and I think. Yeah, exactly as Andrew says, you know, that's the kind of stories that I love to hear.
Yeah.
People that go out there, challenge themselves against something unique, like climbing Kilimanjaro, don't quite make it, but go back and then, you know, go back for round 2.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's exciting.
Let's have a quick look. Haley Brimble, do you do Manaslu Base Camp? At the moment, no, but it is something that we're sort of looking at. With the lesser known sort of Manaslu area, and we also looked at Kanchenjunga area and stuff like that as well. But it's about, it's a very rugged and sort of lesser known trek, but it's about getting the correct amount of people that we need in order to run those trips. But I do think it's something we 100% could do. I think what we might do is run it alongside the same time as the climbers are heading to Manaslu. That means that there's going to be a little bit more set up for us in terms of and also it'd be cool to get to base camp, and it's much smaller than Everest base camp.
Is it? Yeah.
You know, so that'd be amazing. Nice. So let's have a look. Tina said stunning scenery, very varied terrain, superb porter who should be fast track to a guide, emotional passion, the old village.
Wow, yeah.
That's one thing that I think would be very emotional. Anyone that's seen that documentary Aftershock on Netflix knows. Yeah,
that's a really good film.
Just insane though, isn't it? Netflix, like the devastation that happened there. That'd be amazing. Alison, is it definite that we'll have to travel from Ramachap to get to Lukla in October rather than Kathmandu? So Alison, I would say it's not definite, because we do run trips via Kathmandu when we can, but I would say it's almost definite that it'll be Ramachap, particularly in October. That's kind of the peak of the season. That's when they're diverting the majority of trekkers. So Ramachap, just for those that don't know, so historically we used to run all of our treks to Everest region from Kathmandu. So you'd catch the flight from Kathmandu to Lukla. But it started when they were doing some work on the runway back in 2019. Possibly 18, in Kathmandu. And what they did during that period was they diverted all the trekking traffic to Ramachap. Then they realized, oh, do you know what? This took so much pressure off the airport because there's only one international runway and there's a lot of air traffic issues around Kathmandu, coupled with the visibility and the smog. The fewer planes that they have, the better. So the Nepal Civil Aviation Authority then diverted all trekking flights to Lukla via Ramachap, except for a select few when you can book them. So we do our best to try and book them from Kathmandu, but if not, it is Ramachap. This is one of those other things, I guess, that we can consider having to sort of adapt to and roll with the punches, because it is challenging because you don't get a full day tour in Kathmandu because we have to leave early enough to get to Ramachap, and that can be a 5 to 7 hour drive. And then once you're there, you then get up super early the next morning to go to Ramachap, although it is a shorter flight to Lukla, so it means the flights are more reliable. But yeah, certainly it is. It's not the most fun you can have. Let's have a quick look. Who else have we got here? So let's have a look. Go on, Zach, if you can pick one up.
EBC all the way up. Had an awesome day. Weather was clear all day for our first sight of Everest today. Awesome. That's exciting.
Oh, amazing. So are you on the acclimatization trek, or did you reach Namche today? Because there is a spot as you're going through the woods on Namche Hill. And it's mad. It's almost like framed. There's a little gap in the trees.
Oh, cool.
And then when you look through, there's Everest.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
One day.
First time I ever saw it was blew my mind, because I was sat on this wall having a little break. And then the guide says, oh, do you want to see Everest? And I'm like, what?
Say what?
Because I wasn't expecting to see it until we actually got there. Like up to Namche, up to the viewpoint. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what do you mean see Everest? We're not there yet. But so I've got it here, and I'll try and show it on the camera. See the little gap?
Oh yeah. Oh cool. Yeah.
And then there's Everest. So I don't know if anyone can see it, but you can.
Get right.
Shall I have to get right up close?
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, so as you're trekking, sort of that is not the best, is it?
Maybe the other one that was a bit.
But then when you scroll through,
there you go. Yeah.
There's like a gap in the tree, and you can like see Everest.
That's so cool.
And apparently we were really lucky because at the time of day it's normally like quite cloudy.
Right.
So
Wow.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Absolutely. Reached today.
Let's have a quick look. So Haley Brimble, Dave, I think you said you have done EBC more than once. I did EBC October 22 and would love to go back, but wondered if it would be the same wow factor. So very lucky to have done Everest Base Camp 4 times. And I honestly think nothing will ever replace the experience of the first time, everything being new and the first time that you see Everest. However, I will say that having, I didn't do it 4 times by accident. It's probably one of my favorite regions in the world to trek. And each time I've gone, I've sort of experienced something unique that I haven't quite experienced before. And I think one of the things that I did really enjoy about the subsequent ones that wasn't present on the first was that, having already done it, there was less sort of anxiety about things going wrong. I wasn't so, when I first time I did it, I had the camera out and I was trying to capture everything for sort of, because I didn't know if I'd ever be back again. On the subsequent trips, I've been more, I would call it more natural trekking. I've sat down and I've just soaked in views and enjoyed myself, and everything felt much slower and more relaxed. And also there are things that I perhaps I didn't do the first time that I really would have wanted to do again. So no, I think each time offers me something different.
And did you do the 4 times? Was it 4? The 4 times that you did, were they at different times of year? I guess that would create different experiences as well.
Yeah, so I've done 3 autumn treks and 1 in spring. But even the autumn was done at a different time. So the first time I ever went was October 2016. The weather was phenomenal. I mean, it was amazing. I don't think there was ever a day where there was a cloud in the sky. Wow. So lucky. Second time I went back, was that was when my dad came and a few friends, and that was in September 2017. I will say the weather was terrible then, really bad. Like it was cloudy almost every day. We got to see Everest. We were very lucky. We had a clear day when we were at Namche.
Yeah.
But there was a moment when we were trekking back towards Pangboche, and I thought I could be in Wales right now. Like it was so wet and stuff like that.
Great.
Third time was April 2019. So that was the different one for the spring. What I will say about the spring is that I thought it definitely snowed. It hasn't snowed on me in the autumn, but it did in spring.
Okay.
That was great. We had a snowball fight at Ferice, which is like 4,300 meters.
Wow.
So it was a hellish snowball fight. That was really good. That was an amazing trip. Got to see one thing that's lovely about spring is that all the flowers are in bloom. So when you're walking down from Tengboche to Dobushe, there's all of these rhododendron trees. And I'd only seen them in the autumn, so they were just bare trees.
Right.
And when you go back and it's just this pink corridor of just flowers, it just looked amazing. Also, you do get to rub shoulders with people who are climbing Everest.
Yeah.
From all over the world, there are, people who you can kind of find out about their story, who they're going with, what their experiences are. And then you get to see base camp, as it is. You don't actually go into the full base camp.
No.
You kept kind of away. But yeah, it was amazing seeing the ice fall and stuff like that.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then I went back again in the autumn just for good measure.
Just for the banter.
Yeah, just for the banter.
Why not?
Yeah. So that was amazing.
God, amazing. We've got Deb here saying, very excited to be flying to Peru on Thursday. Exciting. I'm arriving in Cusco after spending 3 days at sea level in Lima at 8 a.m. with an unplanned day to adjust to altitude. Should I relax, or is it best to keep active and sightsee but moving slowly? Don't want to make the wrong choice. That's a good question.
Yeah, no, I think when it comes to altitude, sort of relatively active rest is what I think is good. So, keeping the body moving, nothing too strenuous, but walking around and, do some sightseeing and things like that. It's really good for you.
Yeah.
Because you do need to rest and take time, and certainly you'll have time for that. But also the body needs to acclimatize to moving at altitude and different heart rates and breathing rates and things like that. So I think it's a good idea to kind of be moving around. That being said, sometimes if you have like a bit of a headache or you're noticing a bit of the altitude, sometimes it can do you wonders to kind of relax and kind of allow the body some time to adjust, because you're not doing yourself any favors by overexerting.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that helps. A bit of a mixed answer, but Deb Badgery says also, what are your thoughts on coca tea? I'll be honest, I've never had it. One of the things that is on my list to do is I personally haven't been to Peru. So it's going to happen this year. We were this close. We were this close to going, and then
we need to go.
Yeah. But I hear that it's very good for acclimatization, because I know the locals used to use it in, like, they have these gourds around their neck and they chew the leaves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I know it's quite, people laugh about it and say, oh, it's like cocaine and stuff like that, but it's not that. It is the leaves, and it's a mild stimulant.
Right.
It's nothing like actual cocaine.
Good.
As I understand it. But 100% I'd try it. I would anytime I'm in a place and there's kind of a local delicacy or something interesting like that, I'll always. The only one that I've specifically avoided was I had the opportunity to try what the Nepalese call mad honey.
What's that?
So it's honey that these bees make from a flower that has some sort of hallucinogenic property.
Oh no!
And apparently, it's a bit of a if you YouTube it, I'm sure there'll be some YouTube documentary about people who have tried mad honey. And I did get the opportunity, but it's not my bag.
Not before a trek, though. Probably not a good idea.
To be honest, it's not my. Nepal is mind-bending enough. The views, the Himalaya, all of that stuff is.
You don't need the honey.
Nah, you don't need the mad honey. But I would be very interested to talk to someone who has tried it to find out what I missed out on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alison Morgan looking to book the 5th of October. We're hoping for good weather. Honestly, I think the 5th is pretty good.
Nice.
Once you're into October, you were you're sort of in a good time. My favorite time that I ever did it probably was the first time, which was in October, and then I also arrived on base camp on the 31st of October.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had and these are never planned, but
No.
so yeah, I was at Halloween, and I summited Killy on a leap year.
Did you?
Yeah, I think 28th of February, something like that. But it's like
right.
it was a leap year.
That.
So yeah, barrel of laughs.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it makes it a nightmare if you want to go back like a year later.
Right. Yeah.
Simon Harwood.
Yes.
We've got a couple of things we need to get in there, don't we?
We're just about to.
Bit off subject, but is your stand at KMF this year? So that's the Keswick Mountain Festival, in a free to enter area or the main area. Will be at the lakes, but not running this year. So we will be with everyone else. I believe you have to pay to get in. I don't know though. Where's Rosie when you need her?
That's a bit of a Rosie question. I wonder if she's
I'm not
watching.
entirely sure because where we are is where all the normal stands
We're
are.
on stand 21 for anyone that's we'll be at Keswick Mountain Festival, and that's we'll be stand 21. So make sure you come and see us.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I know the majority of the people that I've seen there before. Do you know what? I've never been there as like a punter, always worked. So I don't really know which areas are free and which ones you have to pay.
Yeah.
What I will say is that Simon, we're very much looking forward to seeing you. So it's worth the $5 to come see us. I think. Yeah. So it'll be me, Zach, Vicky, and Rosie this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rosie will be the one running around shouting at us. Vicky will be
put that down.
Vicky will be sticking up for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and you will be.
We'll just be doing what
we're told.
Getting told off.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. Yeah, because it didn't happen last year, did it? It was
no,
they didn't run it.
No.
But yeah, I love Keswick.
Yeah.
It's such a good place.
And we'll be running a bit of a competition. So make sure you come down and see what that's all about.
Exactly.
It's very exciting.
And I would like to formally invite anyone that's coming to Keswick Mountain Festival with a dog to swing by our tent, because we have dog biscuits and it's the highlight of my whole weekend.
Do we have dogs? I don't even know that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. There we go.
I mentioned it to Rosie that we've got to get them because it's the highlight of my whole weekend. Not meeting the customers is obviously the highlight, but their dogs
seeing the dogs
is probably my second highlight.
There we go.
Yeah, Tina Barrett said one thing you saw en route to Langtang was the wild honey nests. So yeah, Tina obviously walked past them and didn't try it. Did you, Tina? Unless you want to message me and let me know.
Yeah, maybe she did.
Yeah. Very fascinating. One other thing today as well is pretty important to remember if you are thinking of booking a trek and you want to get the best price you possibly can. Today is the last day that you can use the competition runner-up prize, which I believe is Killy runner-up.
Yes, I think that's right.
Yeah. So please, if you are looking to do it, now's the best time, because after today, the codes are no longer valid, and you would have missed out on a great opportunity to lock in an amazing trip at a really, really good price. So
get it in. Yeah.
Awesome. So Simon says went last year, but it was scaled down for just the running events. May pop up to say hi. Yeah, Simon will pop up and say hi. Yeah, you won't let us down.
We'll see you there.
You won't let us down. Anything? I'll give you the final word this time, because normally it gets sprung on me.
I don't have any wise words.
Do you not?
No, I don't know. I don't know. Just I guess don't worry about failure too much.
Yeah.
It can happen. But just remember that it's not the end.
Yeah.
If things go wrong and don't go quite to plan, there's always a second time.
Exactly. It's not the end. Failure is just another journey, one that we all must take.
Reference.
I wonder if anyone knows. I think you're exactly right there. I think I remember seeing a Wayne Gretzky poster. He's a famous ice hockey player, I think it's almost a cliched poster, and he said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
And normally that would be in some corporate bathroom in Lloyd's
Yeah,
or
there's a bit of a
HSBC or something.
corporate.
I remember when I worked for Lloyd's, they put stickers on the mirrors of the bathroom saying, "Do you see someone who can make a difference? Get out of here."
It's a bit like this poster of it.
Yeah, speed doesn't matter. Forward is forward.
Yeah.
But when it comes to adventure travel and or taking on any challenge, I do think those kind of cheesy things are right. You do need to kind of chance failure, because you're not learning or achieving anything by staying home. It's the same end result.
No.
But at least if you've gone there, and I've spoken to many people that have turned back and perhaps not reached Everest Base Camp or the summit of Kilimanjaro, and my answer is, how can it ever be viewed as a failure when you've trekked on the highest mountain in Africa, or you've trekked in the Himalaya and you've seen Mount Everest and you've done all of these amazing things? It can't possibly be seen as a failure by any stretch.
No.
The failure is not trying, in my opinion. But awesome.
Yeah,
Right, thank you very much, Zach, for
oh, you're welcome.
actually do you know what's hilarious as well is that I think next Tuesday I won't be here because I'll be in Nepal.
Am I doing this again?
Andy's still on holiday, so I think there could be a third opportunity for a 3 week.
I think I should just stay.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Wow.
Anyway, mate, I'm going to shoot. So you crack on. Yeah?
Right. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Take it easy.
Nice one, guys.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
I don't know how to stop
this
it.
one here.